about what is actually green. What does green mean to us? Of course, it's a color at first, but how do we measure green? Typical, what we see when we talk, and what Magnus showed at the introduction is, we measure stuff in the amount of carbon emission that we cause, in kilograms, kilotons, whatever amount it is. How do we get to this point? First of all, we do need to measure the energy that we use. So, just to give you some perspective, some ideas on how much energy we all consume over a day, or over a month, or in our lifetime. The total worldwide energy production in 2020 was 600 exajoule, which is a kind of large number, I would say. You can assume that this increased slightly over the course of the last 2 years. There is no decline in sight. A joule is a measure of energy that indicates different things. Also, 1 kilojoule is, in average, the equivalent of the total energy of a person that is used within 10 seconds if the person is acting like you guys are, just sitting still and listening to people. And the key question is, what is 1 hour of streaming, or what is 30 minutes of streaming in terms of energy? So, should be very easy to figure out, right? Because if we know the amount of energy that we use, and if we know the amount of our energy mix in the country that we live in, it should be super easy to derive what is the energy cost by our streaming service. So, you can take a best guess which one is your figure of those all figures that represent 30 minutes of Netflix streaming. There has been some studies out there that tried to derive the fact or the amount of carbon emission caused by 30 minutes of Netflix streaming. You can see that those values kind of vary a bit. So what does that tell us? That tells us that some of those studies do think that CDNs or the internet is just there. There is no server, there is nothing involved, it is just there, and there is no energy consumed by that. There are other studies that include CDN, but they completely get rid of the fact that there is an end device where you watch your stream on. And this end device, if it's a TV set or if it's a mobile phone, there is a slightly difference in the consumption of energy to that. There are other studies that think of private data centers as to be completely energy-less. So it's kind of different or difficult to figure out what is the actual fact of those 30 minutes of Netflix streaming. If we want to answer the question if MPEG-2 is actually greener than AV1, we can think of very high-level criteria that we can apply to figure that out. So what we can see here is, and that's one of the fundamental issues when trying to derive those facts, we are not saving something over the course of the whole workflow. We are just shifting workloads. We are shifting workloads from the transcoding part to the CDN. We are shifting workflows from the CDN to the device, and vice versa. But it is not like we are fundamentally changing the world here. It's 63,072,000 watt. It's the amount of chunks a live stream produces over the course of 1 month, with just a regular set of profiles, regular set of audio tracks, maybe a subtitle, something like that. A regular live stream. If you keep it running for 24/7 over the course of 30 days, it will produce this amount of files on your origin server. Who in this room thinks that those 63 million files are consumed all? It is very unlikely that over the course of even an event or a 24/7 live stream, the whole amount of chunks is actually being consumed by end users or requested by end users or end devices. So if we think about turning around this workflow, and before you all run into your basements and turn your servers upside down, how would that help us to increase or decrease the carbon footprint of our environment? Because we're not talking about infrastructure here. Those are software concepts that we would need to apply, right? The infrastructure that you have all in your private data centers or on your server farms, it will be the same. And we will not turn them off in case a user doesn't request any stream, right? I mean, that doesn't make sense at all. We need to think, how can we adopt our workflows to fit the great things that cloud technology can provide us with?